Welcome to today's update. It is the 25th of June. It is about 2 p.m. and this is your Black Sheep weather for Thursday. Except today's Wednesday, so let's not get ahead of ourselves too much. Taking a look at our forecast for today, heavy rain is the watchword. East winds at 10, high today of only 68. Tonight 63, 67 tomorrow with rain in the morning, possible storms, and then clearing in the afternoon. North-northeast wind at 10, high 67, low down to 58. Friday looks to be the best day of the week with a sunny sky and a high temperature of only 78, 64 tonight or Friday night, and then Saturday increasing clouds, showers and storms on the afternoon into the overnight and into Sunday. Highs both days around 87 and then 70 and 66 are the lows, so it'll be a nice juicy weekend again. Skies clear out Sunday night, and Monday brings us sunny and beautiful weather. Again, 82 and 83 for Monday and Tuesday with lower humidities. So that is something to look forward to, even if it is the work week. At least it's not going to be soggy. Taking a look at our radar right now, you can see rain, rain, and rain. If you look at that big green outlined area here, you can see that there is a rather large area, and that is actually for excessive rainfall and flash flooding potential. And that is because this rain activity just keeps back building, which means it's just as it forms and drifts to the northeast, more stuff forms up behind it. So you're just getting rain shower after rain shower after rain after rain. Now, the orange little highlight down here, that is actually rather new. That is actually a watch discussion from the Storm Prediction Center, and they are likely going to be issuing a watch of some sort down here for this activity. Not sure if it'll be a severe thunderstorm or a tornado watch at this time, but that is definitely something we'll be watching here this afternoon. And here is our day one severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. That slight risk does get into southern Minnesota and most of northwestern Iowa. Just a tiny sliver of southeastern South Dakota down towards Vermilion and Sioux Falls. Slight risk or a moderate marginal risk surrounds that, and that's that darker green. That does get up here to the Twin Cities, just a little bit north of Sioux Falls, up towards Watertown more, back down towards Chamberlain, and then southwestern Wisconsin from about Hudson to Milwaukee, and then south and west of that line. Taking a look at our tornado potential for today, we have a 2% risk, which is a non-zero chance of tornadoes in southern Minnesota in that same general area, same area of South Dakota. Taking a look at our wind probabilities, there's a 15% chance of winds in excess of 65 miles an hour in that same tornado risk area. So we're looking at southern Minnesota from about the Twin Cities to Sioux Falls, down towards Mower County and Houston County, and then that tiny little corner of southeast South Dakota from about Chamberlain to Sioux Falls. And our hail probabilities don't affect us. Not a high chance of severe hail today. Tomorrow we have a slight risk. Nowhere in the country, it's actually going to be a quiet day. We do have a marginal risk across the southern half of Wisconsin. It's going to be the southeastern corner of Minnesota from about Red Wing to Fairmont, south and east. And then a marginal risk across most of Minnesota, the rest of Wisconsin, almost all of South Dakota, and far western North Dakota, with another marginal risk just barely clipping the Williston area. For day 3, now this is where things get much more interesting. So we're looking now at the third day out, which would be this Friday, and that actually brings a slight risk back into Minnesota in the northwest part of the state. And then most of North and South Dakota are actually in that slight risk. There's a tiny sliver of a marginal risk that covers more of northwestern Minnesota, so International Falls, down to about Pipestone. That'll be in that slight risk. South Dakota, it's a decreasing little sliver that goes down and ties down at about, I'd say Chamberlain again. And to the west, just a tiny sliver, and then a marginal risk that kind of slides around that. Northern Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota, no chance of storms. It should be a nice day on day 3. And then a slight marginal risk, rather, on the southern half of Wisconsin. Now, this is that same precipitation outlook we were looking at earlier, and they're calling out, there's some technical stuff in here. The blue line is a low-level jet that is throwing moisture up into this area. The green dashed line over the Twin Cities, that is a convergence axis, just a little bit off the surface where things are coming together and just piling up. And then that hatched area, this pink scalloped area, that is that area we saw on the radar. That is that area with increasing coverage of 1 to 2 inch an hour rain rates. And our soils are already saturated, so that really will just run off, which could cause some flash flooding. Now that's also going to tie into our excessive rain outlook. Day 1 slight risk, that is covering most of Wisconsin, the southern half of Minnesota, the eastern third of South Dakota, and then there's a marginal risk that surrounds that, taking in the rest of Wisconsin, just about the Highway 2 corridor in Minnesota, the southeastern quarter of North Dakota, and the rest of South Dakota. Day 2, that slight area moves to the east quite a bit, but still Wisconsin, southeastern Minnesota, you're in that slight risk of excessive rainfall. There's a marginal risk down around Madison, Janesville, Kenosha, and then from International Falls in the North Shore back down the west side of that slight risk down to Fairmont, Jackson, and Sioux Falls, and then a tiny little sliver, basically Vermilion to Sioux Falls in South Dakota is in that day 2. Looking at our day 3, it actually quiets down for a little bit. If you remember that day 3 had that severe weather chance, the slight risk up in the Red River Valley, and that's where we find our marginal risk of excessive rainfall on day 3 is the Red River Valley, back into Devil's Lake and back towards Bismarck and Minot in North Dakota. Day 4, we have a marginal risk that extends across most of central Minnesota into northern Wisconsin. That also goes back into the area around Wahpeton, North Dakota, and most of the eastern half of South Dakota. And day 5, excessive rainfall outlook again. See a pattern here, and I wish we could break it. Far southeastern South Dakota, the southeastern half of Minnesota, and almost all of Wisconsin, and a marginal risk for excessive rainfall again. And that is your look at our forecast and what is coming up the next 5 days. I am meteorologist John Lamb, and thank you for watching Black Sheep Weather. If you like what you see, let us know. Tell a friend. And otherwise, if you have some feedback or constructive criticism, you can always send it to blacksheepwx@gmail.com, and I will respond as soon as I can. Thanks again for watching.